Alright, so we are going to look at some special right triangles. The reason why these right triangles are considered special is because you don't actually have to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve them. You always can, that's a backup plan if you don't remember the relationships, but to remember these relationships would be to make your life a whole lot easier. Alright, so some special right triangles that we've already kind of talked about are what we call the Pythagorean triples. Alright, so with the Pythagorean triples, if you're given two lengths, whether they're two legs, a leg and a hypotenuse, you know what that third length is going to be. So again, some of those Pythagorean triples are, we have 3, 4, 5. Along with 3, 4, 5, you can double that. So we could say 6, 8, 10. We could also have tripled 3, 4, 5, so we could say 9, 12, 15, and so on and so forth. Another set of Pythagorean triples are 5, 12, 13. So again, we can take those and double them. So it could be 10, 24, 26. So what that means is if I'm given these two values, I know what the third is going to be. So if I'm working with my 5, 12, 13, if I'm given that one leg is 5 and I'm given that the hypotenuse is 13, then that means I can go in and I know that the other leg is going to be 12 without doing any work at all. Alright, also if I was given that a leg was 10 and a leg was 24, I know the hypotenuse is going to be 26. Going to my 3, 4, 5. If my hypotenuse is 5 and my leg is 4, I know my last leg is going to have to be 3. Now this only works if your longest length is your hypotenuse. So if I was to get a triangle and I was given that a leg was 10 and a leg was 8, 6 would not be the hypotenuse. I would actually have to go in and calculate it. It only works if 10 was my given hypotenuse. Alright, so we have Pythagorean triples, but we also have two other new relationships that we want to take a look at. The first type is what we call a 30, 60, 90 triangle. The reason this comes into play is because I'm going to have one angle that's 30, I'm going to have one angle that's 60, alright, because 30 plus 60 plus 90 gives me 180 for the sum of the interior angles of my triangle. Alright, the relationship is my short leg, I'm going to call X, and the short leg is the leg that is across from the smallest angle. My long leg, which is 60, so my long leg, which is across from my 60-degree angle, has the relationship of the short leg times the square root of 3, and then my hypotenuse is going to be twice my short leg. So if I was given that my short leg, and I'll just abbreviate that SL equals 6, I can tell you what the rest of it's going to be. I can tell you now that the long leg is going to be 6 radical 3, and then I can tell you that the hypotenuse is going to be 2 times 6, which is 12. Alright, also if I gave you a problem where I said that the long leg was 5 radical 3, well, I know that the long leg came from the short leg times the square root of 3, so my long leg is 5 square root of 3, which means my short leg is going to have to be 5, which would then make my hypotenuse 2 times 5, which is 10. So that's my 30, 60, 90 triangle. The last type that I'm going to have is my 45, 45, 90 triangle. And I don't know why my triangle just disappeared, but we're just going to go with it. Alright, so again, my last triangle, and I'll just draw this one in. So, sorry about that. Is my 45, 45, 90 triangle. So this is given that one angle is 45 degrees, the other angle is 45 degrees, which means that this right triangle is isosceles. Well, what I know about an isosceles triangle is that my legs are going to be exactly the same. So I can call both of my legs x. And what's going to happen is my hypotenuse is going to be x radical 2. So that's the relationship that's formed. And again, this is in my 45, 45, 90 triangle. Alright, so for example, if I gave you that a leg is equal to 7, I know that both legs are 7. I also know that the hypotenuse is going to be 7 times the square root of 2, which is just 7 radical 2. Alright, another example, if I'm given that the hypotenuse is, let's say, 10 radical 2, well, I know the hypotenuse came from the leg times the square root of 2, so that means both of my legs are going to have to be 10.